welcome back. We are back for another week of all-out NRL fantasy for 2025. Round one kicked off last week in Vegas, but now the real smoke is here. We are back with the rest of the 6 games in round one. I'm joined by Macca. How are we, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
No, it's good to have you back, man. It's good to have you back.
It's been a little while, actually. Haven't got the call up until now, so yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And it's been a while since I've been on as well, to be honest.
That's very true.
I've had a bit of a hiatus. Yes, a holiday over the States. Lovely all-out travels. But no, mate, without further ado, let's touch on over the weekend, obviously, the Vegas games. We had the Raiders versus the Wars and the Panthers versus the Sharks. Starting with the Raiders and the Wars. What were your thoughts there, mate?
Those Wars looked absolutely horrific. Owning a few Wars myself, I bought Ali Leotau, is that you say?
Yeah.
And yeah, just no good ball. They looked a mess, didn't they? The forwards got dominated.
A lot of missed tackles as well.
A lot of missed tackles, yeah. Hopefully in the coming weeks they sort of improve, but yeah, that was a horrible showing from them.
Yeah, so I guess if we want to just quickly summarize, I guess, in terms of what Vegas players in that Raiders game were very good, that obviously were fantasy relevant, that a lot of people were looking to get in. Obviously, Zach Hoskins, 62 points in 66 minutes. So I think maybe a bit more than minutes that we expected him to get. I think we were probably putting him around max like 60 minutes. So
I mean, I know a lot of people were hoping for 80 minutes, but I think the minutes he got was still pretty good overall.
Yeah.
Given he has that attacking upside as well. So.
And they got Sasungi on the bench. Obviously, Hudson Young's close to a representative forward. He obviously killed it as well. But look, obviously the Big Red.
Horse was great, wasn't he?
Horse was great. Oh, those offloads were juicy. They were very special, Big Horse. I know we did a little meme on that with those more offloads. We wanted more.
How many minutes did he end up playing?
59.
That's great. That's sort of what you're looking for from him.
Yeah. Tarpany obviously not playing this week in the next 2 weeks. So I think there's a real big upside for Big Red to get maybe potentially more than that 59 minutes against the Broncos in round 2 next week. I think that was really it. Like Barnett probably and Fisher Harris was some players.
Yeah, I mean that was another thing I was going to talk about. I know a lot of people got Barnett, Fisher Harris, and they just didn't play the minutes that we were expecting for, probably the 2 most senior forwards.
46 minutes for Fisher Harris for 51 points and 51 minutes for Barnett for 49 points.
And I guess I sort of understand the Fisher Harris one a bit more than the Barnett one. Like Barnett's proven he can play massive minutes. He's a representative forward last year. He should be playing 60 minutes at least. And you really want Fisher Harris over 50 as well. So, yeah, not sure what was going on there.
Yeah, obviously Dylan Walker and Aaron Clark, they got 33 points respectively. Both played 46, 47 minutes. So I think that was all right. RTS was another popular one. Yep. I thought he was one of the Wars that actually really tried. He got 38 points, but I think definitely going to see more from him. For sure. And lastly, I think from the Raiders, obviously, is Metcalf, which was probably, I'd say, probably the biggest disappointment fantasy-wise coming out of Vegas. Obviously, a lot of people were very high on him, but a measly 21 points, 18 tackles. He had 7 missed tackles, like 2 errors. So there's 18 points in negatives. There was still the kick meters there, but like we said, the Wars couldn't have played.
Yeah, I don't think
any worse.
With Metcalf, I don't think his panic station is quite yet.
No.
He's still got plenty of talent. I mean, you saw a few times when he actually started running the footy, he looked quite dangerous. So
it'll just be interesting to see if the Wars make any changes.
Yeah, maybe bring in a Tanner Boyd or something like that.
And the last man is obviously Tamale, who absolutely killed it on the weekend. I know that we had him as an avoid, and I still stand by that, why we went him with an avoid. Obviously, with Lei Hopewade missed the game due to the birth of his child, and he was set to come back in from all reports that we'd heard all preseason that he was coming back in, and Tamale was just going to have this 1 week. Now, obviously, with the man who top scored, Savage, with 69 points, is now out for a week. So Tamale gets another week. So another week to impress. And if he puts up numbers like he did last week, last weekend, he is definitely could be.
I mean, worse if you didn't
keeps his spot.
If you didn't start with him, worst outcome is you just bring him in. But
bring him in.
Yeah, congrats to all the people who did bring him in because it's looking pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, and this one won't have as many touching points. Obviously, Panthers against the Sharks obviously held on there. The Sharkies fought hard, but Isaiah Yeo, he's exceptional. 80 minutes, 70 points. He was exceptional. If you have Isaiah Yeo, you really know what you're going to get. Fanua Blake, 68 points. Look, he scored again. The man just knows how to find the try line for a middle. You can't be unhappy with that with 68 points. Blake Brayley, should I say, getting 61 points was a really solid effort from him. McInnes, you know what you're going to get with McInnes. 53 minutes. It's pretty similar to what he got last year, I think, those minutes. So Nakora, again, you know what you're going to get there. Nathan Cleary, 56 points. I think coming back from, like off-season surgery and whatnot, you got to be happy with that, 56 points. He did look a bit quiet, but look, he obviously still clutched up when it mattered.
Dor, I thought, just want to jump in here, I thought Jesse Raymond looked terrific on the weekend, and that
9 tackle busts.
That converted to 60 points? So
60 points, yeah.
He's certainly on my radar in that center position.
Yeah. Another one that caught my eye, Macca, was a man that I know obviously Mick's not on today, but we've spoken a lot about him in the preseason, was Lindsay Smith. 54 points on the weekend in 60 minutes, like 47 tackles. The man is a workhorse. And obviously a lot of punters were wondering who was going to step up when Fisher Harris departure, and Lindsay Smith was the man.
Well, the thing about Penrith as well, and whenever someone leaves, someone always steps up to fill the gap that was left. So, yeah, it's looking like Lindsay Smith's going to be the leader of that pack now, or one of the leaders at least.
And last few things to touch on in that game, like Nico Hines, 41 points. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't great. It's all right. I'd give him maybe another couple, like at least another week.
I mean, you're sort of hoping he gets the goal kicking back. If it's true that his groin is still flaring up a bit and he gets the goal kicking back, then that 41 becomes a 50 plus and it doesn't look too bad. So, yeah, I wouldn't be looking to get rid of him just yet, but...
Yeah, IPAP, I think obviously he got 41 on the weekend, but I don't think that yet that his scores are, he only played 49 minutes, so we need to see more minutes before he's viable. And then Jack Cole obviously is another one that we were talking about, a lot of people were mentioning with Blaze not playing on the weekend. I'm still a firm believer that Blaze Tulagi will come in either next week or in the coming weeks. As much as Jack Cole did a great effort, I think Tulagi's coming in. So, but no, any other thoughts, brother, or do you, ready to?
I think you covered it all there, Dor.
Yeah. Okay. So, lastly, just for our listeners and watchers, just that are concerned with how the all-out team or who the all-out team got in. So, we scored 237 points in the, what would you say, round 1.5?
Yeah, round 0.5.
Yeah, 0.5. Yeah, so we had Yo as our vice captain for 70, Cleary as captain, obviously 56 times 2, so 112. Then we had Big Red on the bench for 55 points. And then we actually looped Metcalf, so we can avoid getting that 21 points from Metcalf. So
that's huge. I know a lot of people just had him as a starter, so...
Yeah. All right, brother. Good. Let's smash out this TLT. With this TLT, we're not going to basically go through and name every single player that's been named. We'll really just touch on, say, a certain few that are a bit different to the team that was named last year in 2024. So, first off is the centers for the Roosters, Macca, the Mark Nakatawase and Robbie Toya. So look, both.
I think Toya's a must-have almost.
Yeah,
Marky Mark, I wouldn't blame you for getting, but yeah, Toya you just probably have to have at this point.
Yeah, the only concern there is with potentially Billy Smith coming back for both of them. But look, I don't know when that is. It could be in a couple of weeks or it could be next week. I'm not sure. But I think both players will be trying to put their best foot forward this weekend. I know the conditions aren't looking the greatest, but look, Marky Mark also gets the centre in DPP, which has just come in while we're recording this. So that's huge for Marky Mark. moving into the halves, look, Townsend and Smith. Townsend's definitely not fantasy relevant, but Sandon Smith.
Sandon Smith certainly is.
Yeah, certainly is. But I'm a bit concerned with how he's going to score. He'll obviously, I think he's going to goal kick. But what are we What are we expecting? You know, the Roosters side. Like, hopefully that those trials were, you know,
yeah. Well, I mean,
not it.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos got to be heavy favourite, right? I think you do get Sandon Smith just because he's 250.
Yeah, he's very.
Don't expect him to set the world on fire.
Yeah, $250K for Sandon Smith. Yeah, I think it's just someone you've got to get in at that sort of price
For sure.
Next one is moving into the forward pack is with the suspension to Spencer Linu, Nafu White Macca.
I like him a lot, Dor.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Nafu White the whole off season, and then with this I don't know, suspension to Linu, I think it's definitely made me lock him in as a certain player in my fantasy side.
I think whenever he's got the minutes, he's performed. So assuming he gets 50 at least, I think he'll pump out decent scores at that price.
So he's obviously only received 30 minutes when previously starting at prop, but I think definitely this weekend with that bench that the Roosters have named, he is in for at least, I'd say, 50, 60 minutes at the minimum. I reckon that bench is very weak, especially in the middle. So I think Nafu White, with that flexibility, he can play lock, second row, or prop. So
are we looking at 80 minutes, Dor?
No, I don't think 80 minutes. I think 80 minutes could be too much.
But either way, big minutes.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
The Nat Butcher's one to look at as well, but I think he might be a bit too expensive, and maybe just want to have a look at him this weekend, see what that role is for Butcher there. But the last person really to touch on for the Roosters is Connor Watson. With you've got Zach Docker-Clay there on the bench. Personally, I'm not worried at all about Zach Docker-Clay there being on the bench. I think even if Watson doesn't get 80. There is still a chance that he does get 80, even with Zach Docker-Clay there. To lock.
Or Docker-Clay barely plays anyway.
I still think he's close to. I wouldn't say he's a must-have, but he's certainly like a really good option.
Yeah. Well, what is he? 660K. I mean, if you're getting a Harry Grant, maybe you don't have to get a Watson, but he's a very, very good option.
The other good thing as well with Connor Watson
DPP.
is in the DPP today, he got hooker. So he's now middle and hooker. So that dual eligibility is very nice. Then, like I said, we don't really need to touch on these players, but Wong, Steep, and Fogarty are on the bench for the Roosters. So I just, the only reason I bring them up is I think that these players that are starting for the Roosters are going to get good minutes. I don't see these players on the bench getting many minutes at all.
With all due respect to that Roosters bench, it's pretty weak.
Yeah.
Their starting pack's going to play big minutes, you'd expect.
All right, on to the Broncos. Look, the only real changes here is Shibasaki, and he's definitely could be an option.
Oh, the comeback kid.
Yes.
This would be his first NRL game in a long time, right?
No, he played for South last year. He came down from like North Queensland, Premiership or whatever up there, and then came down for South
because like a development, like a training.
Yeah, well, they had so many injuries South last year, as we all know. So, Shiba is back, and look, going from all preseason and everything like that, Madge has been really keen on him, and
he won the spot.
And Mariner is only playing because of the injury to Stags. So. Look, I think Shibasaki, unless Mariner really sets it on fire in these first 3 rounds, I think Shibasaki's going to have that spot for now at least. Yeah. But it's going to be hard to keep such a special and entertaining player like Dean Mariner out of that Broncos side for too long.
Yeah, well, I guess the one thing going for Shiba is he's more of a center than I think Mariner is. In my opinion, Mariner's more of a winger, but... Yeah, I don't know if it might just depend on who plays, but if Shiba goes better than Mariner, he could easily keep the spot when Stags comes in. So we'll see.
Yeah, Ben Hunt is back at the Broncos and in at the 6th position. I don't think I definitely would be avoiding for now. I just think with the sharing of the kicking duties with Reynolds, I think the Broncos are going to score some points, but I need to see a bit more.
Either way,
I think he could be someone that could lose a bit of cash at the start, and then when he gets potentially to move into that hooker position, when Ezra comes back, he could be really ripe to buy because I think he could be playing like 60, 70 minutes.
That might even be
hooker.
post-Origin as well. So
yeah,
he might be a buy then. You're right.
Yep. So Carrigan moves into the prop smacker, which sees Kobe Hetherington. Madge has been really keen on him, stopped him from going to the Tigers to keep him in Brisbane, and now he's getting that starting lock position. Look, with Jensen and Willison on the bench, which are both props, I don't think that he plays 80, but I think there's a real chance he could play 60 minutes, which for his price point, I think is absolutely terrific. Like, there is some value, I think, to make there if Hetherington can play 60 minutes. I know he's not really the type of player that, is going to set the world on fire, but he's a real workhorse and he'll get through a lot of defensive work there. So I think, at 414K, break even of 31, I think there could be a bit of money there to make with Hetherington.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is looking at that bench. Carrigan moves into block for a bit to spell him, but either way, he looks like he's playing big minutes, and he's definitely a workhorse. So I like him a lot. And
then the last two, brother, to touch on with this Broncos team is Jack Gujeski starting in the second row position.
What a story that is!
Which a lot of people are a bit confused about. But look, again, one of those ones like Shibasaki that Madge.
You gotta trust Madge, right? If you've seen something, then
the thing is as well as Madge actually gave Jack his debut down in South.
Oh, so I didn't know that.
There's a bit of a story, a bit of a relationship with
That's
Jack and Madge. But look, I'm concerned with Piakura on the bench. There was talks that Piakura wasn't going to make the 17 to start the season, so for him being there, I think, I think that you could give it a crack, but I think he's playing like 50 minutes, 50, 60 max, and then Piakura is coming on for at least 20, 30 minutes. So I don't know. I'd rather Hetherington over Jack.
If Big Jackie Goss wasn't 250 basement, you wouldn't be looking at him. So,
but as I said, it's a cautious buy, like a caution 100%. That if you want to go him. Like he's still going to play like good minutes for someone priced at that price point.
And as you said, the Broncos are going to score points, so you never know. He could be scoring tries.
Exactly right. And the last player for the Broncos, or last two players, is Corey Pates, exiled by Kevy. Didn't have really any sort of look at the first grade side, but Madge has got him. He's looked great all preseason, and he's getting the start at 9 with Billy Walters there on the bench. I think Corey Pates is priced around 300K.
Yeah, and he has a DPP as well, Dor. So you pop him in the halves. So
I don't think you would be popping him in the halves at all. No, but yes, but it's good to
have in the back pocket. Yeah,
yeah. But look, it's definitely an option. I don't know really how many minutes Billy Walters is going to get. I'm thinking
it could be a 40-40, a 50-50 split. Yeah,
I think it's a 50-30.
Yeah,
I reckon in Pates' favor.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Which at 300K, a break even of 22, and against, if the Roosters play like they did in those trial games, I know it's only a trial, but look, if they play that poorly, like there's a chance that Pates goes really well with those dummy halves. So,
something to think about.
Yeah, definitely one to think about. Lastly, obviously, Takura not named. A lot of people were hoping he was going to get on the bench to play for their side. Obviously very cheap, but not named, so have to wait a few more weeks for that. I know he's got deadly with that short ball, but anyway, on to the next game, the Tigers versus the Knights. Try and fly through these. Taruva, new arrival, I don't think really very fantasy relevant, and Skelton. I think Skelton could definitely be, he's like the man, he's opposite Greg Marzu, basically, a really good forward wing, should I say, with tackle busting ability. Real good, strong ball carrier. But I think with his price point, definitely one to just wait and see. Adam Dewey in the centers, a bit disappointing, but like there's no chance he's going to make the halves over Galvin and Luai. So like, look, if Dewey was playing in 5'8", I think he's definitely a real buy.
Along with the goal kicking, you'd definitely think about him. But in centers, not interested.
No.
Personally.
So Luai comes in. He's one that, you could have a look at Jerome Luai. It'll be interesting to see how him and Galvin combine fantasy-wise with, the kick meters and stuff like that. I don't think you go out and buy Jerome Luai. I think he's one to watch and potentially get in later weeks. The man, there's two people in these two teams that I think are must-haves or locks that you have to have in your team. And this man, Tyrrell May, has come from the Roosters. And I'm looking at that Tigers team, and all I'm seeing is big minutes for Tyrrell.
I'm seeing 80 minutes. I'm going to come out and say it right now. I think Tyrrell May is going to play 80 minutes.
He definitely could.
Look at the bench, right? Tristan Hope, Jack Bird. I mean, Sione Fainu. I mean, Royce Hunt's probably the only person you'd think would come on for him. But then you've
Royce
also
and Fainu, I think, are the two. Bird, I think, is going to play in the middle with 12. So
I mean, Tyrrell May's shown he can play 80. He's almost demanded to play 80.
Yeah.
He's fit. Like you said, he's a must-have.
Yeah, De Silva, I wouldn't worry too much about that because Appy's obviously Appy is suspended for round 1, so De Silva's only playing for that. He'll go back to the bench when Appy returns in round 2. And look, the other two people here to touch on in this starting side is Seyfarth and Alex Twal. I think Seyfarth could be he could be a must-have.
He could be the most underrated. Honestly, he had not slid across my desk until a few days ago, I'd say. But now I'm thinking, he's almost a must-have just at that price. And
he just got edge as well, DPP.
And when he gets the minutes, he really performs. So he's lacking a little bit of aura. I'll say that much about him, but the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, and I don't see. I think Jack Bird, the Tigers have got Jack Bird to the club as a middle, not an edge. So 100%. I think unless it. Worst case scenario, I think that Bird's going to be in the middle with Alex Twal sharing those minutes at lock.
I think they've got him as a middle, yes, but like an injury cover. So
he can play centres or edge.
But ideally he's going to be in the middle for them.
What are your thoughts on Twal?
Look,
do you reckon he's going to get more? Like, we were talking about that Pates rotation. Do you think like Twal's going to play 50 minutes and Bird's going to play 30? Is it going to be a 40-40 split? Is Twal playing 20 and then going to prop at some point and Bird playing 60 minutes at lock?
Twal's just one of those players that's just burnt me before multiple times. Every year thinking, this is Twal's year. He's going to perform. So I just can't do it again. But I think looking at this bench, he'll probably play around 50, which...
Yeah. I think that he could move into into prop, should I say, at some point. And that's the thing with Jack Bird. I just don't know the minutes. There is a chance that he could come in and play lock
100%.
For 60 minutes. And if that's the case, at his price point, he's definitely a buy.
Yeah. So it's definitely just a wait and see. But
last man, Royce Hunt. This is the...
I've been really troubled with this one. I don't see... He's either going to play 15 to 20 minutes, and in that case, you can't get him. But if he plays around 30, 35, then I think he's definitely an option at that price.
Yeah, but I don't know what minutes Royce Hunt plays. It hasn't looked good in the preseason. Maybe it changes in round 1. I think he's like a caution. You can buy him because how cheap he is, but there's definite potential there. Me personally, if you want me to cut to the chase, I'm not going. I'm not going Royce Hunt in round 1. Onto the Knights. Look, the only change there in that back 5 is Schiller coming from the Raiders, coming in there on the wing. I think there's a bit of potential there with Schiller, but I'd be waiting and seeing, just watching that one, because he did very well when he played for the Raiders when he got an opportunity. So that's there. And then we've got Fletcher Sharp and Cogger. Cogger wins the spot for the 7 jersey over Tyson Gamble. And look, Jackson Hastings, I think, is well out of it. So he's definitely not even close. I think he's like third fiddle. So look, I think Fletcher Sharp, I don't know how Fletcher Sharp's going to go. I think he might regress a little bit in the middle at 6, but like fantasy wise, I think
there's alarm bells ringing for Fletcher Sharp. I'm seeing a lot of people get him in both fantasy and Supercoach for those who play that. I don't see it. I like Fletcher as a player, but at 6, I mean, Pong is going to be the one dominating the attacking players. Cog is going to be the one kicking and play.
And you've got, I just think that, he can obviously bust a tackle. He's very quick as well.
I think he's a great player, but as you said, from a fantasy standpoint, I expect regression as well.
Yeah. Moving into that forward pack, look very, very stable forward pack. The other man that I was saying is a must-have. Is Dylan Lucas, yeah. Especially with that edge and centre dual eligibility.
I think he has a chance to be the highest scoring player in centre for fantasy. So
yeah,
I think he's close to a must-have.
Even if he was just an edge, I still think he's like a must-have edge. I just from the upside that I'm predicting from Lucas. Frizzell, look, being back in the middle or playing in the middle, should I say? I just think it's that period in his life. I think he's moving into the middle of the field, and that his minutes are going to be down. I wouldn't be touching Tyson Frizzell. I think
still love Frizzell, but I agree.
And then Crosland, Brayley at 14 is really interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to balance the minutes here because there's been all talks off season basically that the Knights are going to get rid of Brayley.
And Phoenix Crossland's only 382K.
Yeah.
So I reckon you could do worse at hooker. Or backup hooker?
No. Well, there's obviously there's a few options there with Mamazoulis and co. But look, other than that, the others are all being there. Nothing really to talk about there for the rest of the Newcastle side. Onto the Dolphins versus Rabbitohs game, which the game has actually been moved to Sydney with Cyclone Alfred wreaking havoc. It hasn't got here yet, but
we expect it to wreak havoc. That's for sure.
Yes, because there was a chance that they were saying at Suncorp there that because of the cyclone that there was a chance that they played in front of no one.
Yeah, which makes no sense to me.
So
we're not going to engage the supporters, but the players, good luck.
So on the Dolphins, Macca, nothing really to touch on apart from Junior Tupu coming in there, signing with the Dolphins for this season from the Tigers. He is coming in to replace Bostock, who's out for a few weeks with that knee, or I think it's a leg injury or knee injury that he suffered. I think it was a knee injury he suffered in the trials. So that's really the only change. They add Saifidi to the pack. I don't think Saifidi is a buy fantasy wise. Marshall King's obviously very solid if you want me to touch on a fantasy related player, but the players that we are going to touch on is the 11, 12, and 13 Macca. So Finau Fukiaki, Maxi Plath, and Tom Gilbert. I'm looking at that bench to start with Tom Gilbert. Just got named Dolphins captain at the back end of last weekend. And look, I know he's coming back from an ACL, but there's a real chance that Tom Gilbert gets some good minutes.
Yeah, that's the one thing holding me back from getting him is just that pretty severe injury and then the blood clot as well. Just it might take him a little while to get back to 100%, but
you just look at that bench though. The bench is it's just hard to think that.
I'm sure the minutes are going to be there.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking the other thing is Max Plath's come out. He's re-signed. He's extended, showing his faith to the Dolphins, and he said he wants to play 80 minutes. Yeah. He's trying to get himself to play 80 minutes. So is he going to play the edge for say 50 minutes or something, and then come and play lock for the last 30 minutes to play that 80 minutes, and then Lemuelu comes in onto the edge?
We need a crystal ball for this one because looking at their bench, you don't know where Lemuelu is going to come on at. You got someone like Kafusi who's playing in the middle who could also go to edge. Just looks very confusing. So but I am sure that Gilbert's going to play good minutes. So
I think out of all those, if Max Plath plays 80, he's definitely a buy. But Gilbert, I think is the secure option there out of them all, just because with that edge with Lemuelu on the bench, there's just a bit of don't know if Finau Fukiaki, we really need him to play 80 minutes if he's going to be a buy. So another thing that I forgot to touch on as well, Macca, just quickly with Newcastle is Fletcher Sharp. He was only a wing fullback, so now he's half, and Frizzell also got edge and middle now. Okay. So the couple of DPPs for Newcastle. On to Souths. It's good to see a few players back for South, Macca. No Latrell, but Jai Gray gets another chance, and he is a great young player.
Little Jai Gray certainly is.
Tass on the wing is interesting, as well as Munro. I don't think they're really buys, but definitely someone to consider. I think guy like Munro especially, I think really needs a lot of attacking points. I'm just not sure that's going to be happening with the utmost respect to South. I love their centers. Great to see Campbell Graham back playing.
Fantastic.
And Jackie White, and that's good. Cody Walker at 6. Campbell Graham, just quickly on him, Macca. Would he be someone potentially do you look at, or are you thinking that we need to see, a few weeks? He is 580K, so he's not really the cheapest. Me personally, I think I'm going to be waiting and just see how he goes, but he's definitely someone that is a gun caliber center.
He could be a super pod, Dor. He's currently 0.2% owned.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you're backing him to come back and start elite, which I'm not, I'm backing him just to, be solid.
Work his way back into it.
Especially like you said, I don't think the Rabbits are going to be crash hot.
No.
But yeah, definitely one to watch, and it's great to have him back, of course.
Yeah. Jamie Humphreys partnering Cody Walker in the halves with the suspension to Dodd. Because of that, it's, again, I'm not saying not buy him, but it's just something to worry about, especially with Humphreys, like Bennett coming out and saying that Humphreys strayed a bit at the hooker position in the off-season. So for me, as much as I really want to get Humphreys, I really like Jamie Humphreys.
Yeah,
I'm just going to have to wait and see. I don't think I'll be getting him in this week just due to the fact that Dodd, and they've paid Lewis Dodd a
huge raps on Lewis. Yeah,
and they've paid him a lot of money to come to the club. So I think they're not going to go away from that venture until they've seen enough. So one to watch, Humphreys, but not for me round one. Kepi and Moale, look, they could go well, but I don't really want to spend too much time on players that could go well.
Yeah.
They've been there. Hopefully they go a bit better. If you're looking at them, I'd probably go Moale over Kepi. Kepi, should I say? But Mamazoulis, he's the hooker for South. Is he going to play 80? That is my concern. You've got Sullivan and Havili there that can play that hooker position.
Yeah.
And then there's also the chance with Sullivan on the bench that he goes and spells Humphreys at halfback, and then Humphreys moves to hooker, and then Mamazoulis comes off. Mamazoulis at a very good, nice price, I think of around 313K or something.
319K.
19K,
yeah.
Break even at 24. He should surely get that in 20 minutes.
Even if he doesn't play 80, I think he should be either your backup hooker or, if you had to, starting hooker.
Yeah.
I just not too much else to say there. I just think you'd be a bit silly not to start with him.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Arrow and Keon are the edges. Look great to see Arrow back. No need to talk about that. If you want to get Keon, he's a solid fantasy player.
He's trimmed down a lot, so
he should be playing 80 minutes on the edge. Arrow might get a bit of a spell. But look, the man that we are going to talk about is Mr. Lachlan Hubner, that Wayne Bennett actually took with him from the Dolphins to South, and he gets the start at the lock position, which is huge. There is some concern around it, but I think that there's 100%. I think that with, they were going head to head, him and Tallis Duncan, the last few weeks of training, and he's got the go ahead over Duncan.
I'm a big fan when it's like a 50-50 and someone wins the spot.
Yeah.
So
for me, I think Hubner's the buy with Mamazoulis. I think those two you want to try and look to get into your squad somewhere. In terms of minutes, look, he's for example, if we're going to compare him to someone like Royce Hunt, I think Hubner's going to get more minutes than that. So Hubner's going to get 40, 50 minutes, I'd say, and Royce Hunt, I reckon, is topping out at max 30 minutes. I reckon
topping out at 10 minutes.
So look, if you want to get Tallis Duncan, look, you can, but I don't think he's a buy. I think with this Hubner news and they were fighting for the spot, I think that...
I think if you were going to get Tallis Duncan, you wanted to see him starting.
Yeah.
Now he's not, I'd pivot to Hubner or someone else.
100%. On to the next team. Dragons, your Dragons, Macca, versing the Doggies. Look, some new signings here in that back line for the Dragons. I don't need to touch on them fantasy-wise with Gutho and Holmes. They're great players, great fantasy players as well. Look, that whole back line, the addition of Ilias and into that spine with the departure of Ben Hunt. Look, it will be interesting to see how Ilias goes, but I don't think that anyone, well, basically outside of, say, Holmes, Suli's not too bad, but outside of Holmes and Gutho, I don't think you're really looking at anyone else in that Dragons back line.
Definitely not.
And into the forwards, though, this is where it gets interesting
for me.
Yeah. So you've got Couchman and Gula starting front row. I'm really keen on Toby Couchman.
I'm really keen on him too. He's just especially with the trials, he's just a gun. He works so hard. The minutes should hopefully be there, 50 plus maybe. And based on his PPM, yeah, I'm really liking him. And I think he's still relatively low owned. So.
I'd rather him than Gula, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
me too.
out of those two, Leilua and Sue are going to be great options. DeBellin. Look, on the bench, right, Toby's brother Ryan's played a fair bit. It'll be interesting to see how they go with this Damien Cook, Jacob Little partnership. Is it going to be like, are they both going to be on the field? Is Cook going to play 80 and Little comes on and Cook plays like, I don't know, like a bit of a roving lock or something like that? Or obviously Cook can cover center. We've seen that before.
He certainly can do
if he needs to. But
I think it might be based on game situation. Like if Cook's gassed, I think he'll come off. But if he's looking fine, I think he could move to sort of like what the Maroons do with Hunt and Grant, just like almost like another halfback, sort of linking two sides of the field.
And the last player that I was going to touch on, Macca, was Hamish Stewart from the Dragons.
Yeah, what's your read on him? What's your read on him, Dor? Because I've been looking at him.
I don't know. I think that there's better options with better job security at other clubs like Hubner, who are others like Shibasaki.
Well, it could be a Royce Hunt situation. It could be 20 minutes for 15 points. So.
Yeah, like Eisenhuth, I don't expect to be out of the 17 for the whole season either. You've got the situation as well that luckily I remembered now that we're talking of it, that the Dragons are actually trying to get like Clemmer into their top 30, potentially top 31 if they can get this exemption approved. So because of the Francis Molo situation.
Course,
So I can't go Hamish Stewart. For me, that if this exemption, which I think most likely will probably go through, that he's going to lose that spot.
Okay.
So for me, I'm going to stay away from Hamish Stewart. But if you want to buy him at that price, go for it. I'm not going to say no at all. Another thing I just forgot to touch on, just with the Rabbitohs, with that DPP Macca, is Tass actually got wing fullback added because he's on the wing. So center and wing fullback for Tass. If you're keen on that. Bulldogs, look, there's not really too much to talk about here, Macca. Very self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think the Bulldogs probably the most set team. Like there's really nothing fantasy-wise to talk about.
No, not really. Like Max King, I think there's some good minutes there with that bench. Like, look, there's no props named on that bench. Like Haywood, like Tupanua, a half Hayes, roaming Salmon. Lock. Tupanua is like an edge, could play in the middle. Hayes is like a winger that plays like in the forwards. And then you've got Salmon that's like a second rower or lock. So I think the only really thing that we talk about is I think Preston and Max King, I think are really good. I think they're going to play big minutes. 80 minutes, I reckon, 100% for Preston.
Yeah, Preston was probably my first pick.
I went and saw the trial at KO the other weekend, and Preston was by far the best player for the Dogs.
Preston's an absolute gun.
I
think I've said in the comments under one of the All Out posts, jump on Jacob Preston before it's too late. I expect his ownership to be huge.
The only thing is just with Tupanua and Kickout. Yeah. So, like, is Tupanua playing? Is he playing like in the middle, or
I'm thinking he must be playing in the middle just based off that interchange.
The only thing I can think of is either he's playing in the middle or he's going to take Kickout off after like 60, 65 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I know Kickout sometimes plays 80, sometimes plays 50, 60. I guess Tupanua is there because he's versatile. He can play middle, he can play edge. So.
Yeah. And that's probably it. The other issue is like Kurt Mann. He's a gun. Like if he can get good minutes, but I'm worried with the many fish of the week last season in 2024.
Well, on Haywood as well. He plays 13, doesn't he too?
Yeah. So look, not much there on the Dogs, but that's just because we know most of those players have been there. Real, basically same side from 2024 with a few additions. Look, onto the Sea Eagles versus the Cowboys, Macca. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it should be a real good one. In terms of Sea Eagles, look, Lehigh Hopewade is getting the start on the wing. I really like Lehigh, but he's a bit pricey.
Bit too exy.
So I think if you're playing Supercoach, I think he is definitely like more of an option than he is in fantasy. But I just think they're going to score tries. I think Manly do really well this year.
Yeah.
And I think, Lehigh just extended with the club as well. Definitely, if you're keen on him, go, because I think there's a real chance that he goes really well this season, can bust a tackle quick.
Something that completely slipped my mind and something I completely forgot it's Takiyaha playing for Manly. I
Yep.
just completely forgot about that. That's a huge addition.
Yeah. What do you see? What are you seeing with that, Macca? Like they've got Sipley and like Bullimore plays a bit of prop, a bit of in the middle, can play second row as well. He's a very versatile player. Corey Waddell's a bit of an edge. So like
I mean, we
what
know,
are we thinking
we
here
know
for minutes here?
he used to be a gun when he was playing, so I wouldn't blame someone for jumping on him. But I guess I more mean from like an NRL perspective. I just think that's such a big deal for them to get such a good prop.
400K. He's had a bit of injury, bad luck in the last few years. But he's definitely like 400K break even of 30.
Can you imagine he was kicking goals as well? Remember he used to do that?
Yeah, I know. looking at the Manly bench, like it's a real interesting one. Like there's like Paseka, like Sipley. It will be interesting for me. I'm just going to watch. I know a lot of the listeners and watchers will probably want, a more direct to the
black
point.
And white.
Black and white answer. So for me, I'm going to be watching, but definitely someone that I'll be watching closely because at 400K with that bench, like there's a chance that he gets some solid minutes, unless we see like Bullimore get way more minutes than he usually gets. Outside of that, look, Jazz Tavanga is the starting hooker. That's because Lachlan Croker is actually out for I think 3-4 weeks to start the season. So Tavanga comes to Manly and gets the start at hooker. He was actually a mid in fantasy, so he's now got dual mid and hooker. Personally, I don't think with just you got Simkin on the bench as well. He could go really well, but with Croker coming back, I think that Lachlan Croker is Manly's 9.
Yeah.
So Tavanga, I think, will move to the bench. He's definitely not taking Gerbo's 13 jersey.
Certainly not, Dor.
Last player is Ola Kawatu is a gun. If you want to get him, get him. He's an absolute machine.
Very simple.
Get him in. But Ben Trbojevic, good old Burbo.
He always somehow gets in the conversation, doesn't he? 415K centre. I'm not getting him. Let's make that very clear.
I'm not getting him either because Waddell's on the bench, and I think Waddell will spell him at a little point there.
But yeah, I could see a lot of people getting him and being disappointed. No disrespect to Burbo, of course.
No, we love our Trbojeviches, but just not a buy. Sorry, Burbo. So that's really it. No, nothing much to really touch on there with Manly. On to the Cows. Look, there's a few changes here in the back line. A couple in this back five or probably just one that is a real standout for us fantasy coaches is Jackson Purdue. Look, from what I saw in the trials against the Storm, he looked incredible.
He moves well. Moves very well.
Really versatile back. I just think he's a must-have.
100%.
Him and Robbie Toya, I think you lock in.
I think there's 2 must-haves in this Cowboys team.
Yeah.
And the other is Thomas Duffy.
Yes.
Named at 7. So
he could be anything, Macca. He could be anything, Thomas Duffy. This is, he was another one that really caught, I think, a lot of people's eyes in the trials. And
I just thought Clifford was going to get that spot for sure.
100%. I was the same thing. But this man, he was Queensland Cup Player of the Year last year. He's been, grinding away in Q Cup. He deserves a chance. If he didn't get a chance, I think he was definitely leaving to go somewhere else. But look, the big thing for me is that he's starting halfback, and Clifford has been named in the 19th jersey, which to me, that means that they're going with Duffy. They're giving him the first crack.
It's not like Clifford's injured and he's not been named or anything.
100%. So, that's the only other thing with Purdue, I think, is one to monitor is Laybutt hasn't been named at all there. So, and that was one that people were talking about, but like that could actually take Purdue's spot. But I back Purdue. I think he has a great game on the weekend. Duffy, Purdue, really good. Nothing else really. Like Drinkwater's a great option.
Johnny Bateman as well.
Onto the forward pack. I think that from that, it's basically the same pack as last year outside of Johnny Bateman coming in. The injury to Helam Lukey, terrible. But the poor man has been fighting injuries his whole career, and it's a bit like Campbell Graham, unfortunately. But
are we thinking 80 minutes for Johnny Bateman?
I think there's a real chance that Johnny Bateman gets 80 minutes. The only slight concern I'd say is with Carl Lawton, who came to the club that can play edge. I don't know what Carl's role is going to be in the Cowboys side, but what I saw from the Cowboys, from Bateman, should I say, in that Storm trial, I really liked. And he's also a real leader in that. I know McLean, there's I think the Cowboys needed that with their edges, I think, to have a more senior member there.
100%.
And, with Lukey and Nanai, and then they had Finau Fukiaki last year, to have someone like Bateman there with his experience.
Sorry for my language, boys. They needed someone with a bit of cunt. They need someone to fucking have a go. Yeah. So
they needed that mongrel, that guy is going to be, in people's grill.
Which is also one of the problems with Bateman, because he's, the penalties, the yellow card, the send-offs, blah, blah, blah. But I think if he's playing 80, he's such a good option.
Yeah. Ruben Cotter's going to be another option. But, for me, I've been really high on Bateman. I think he plays 80. There is a slight concern there. But, look, he's well underpriced, in my 100%. Opinion, for what he can actually go out there and do. I know, obviously, Supercoach and Fantasy are a bit different. But just to put it in perspective, I think from something off the top of my head, I think in 80 minutes when he played for the Tigers last year, before all the turmoil started, he was averaging, if he played 80 minutes, he was averaging 60 Supercoach points, and that was with one try, and I think one line break.
And you dare say the Cows' attack's going to be better than the Tigers' attack last year. So.
It's all coming from base, which is a fantasy podcast and fantasy coaches. That's what we love to hear. We love that base. So. It's all about that base, as Megan Trainor would say. Yes. So basically, we'll move on. Bateman, we like Bateman. So if you're keen on Bateman, get on board. The last game, round us out, is the Storm taking on the Eels, brother. And Pappenhausen has been named. Pappy is there. Look, I don't know if he's a buy. I personally wouldn't be buying him in round one. The Storm have a lovely draw, but they have the buy in round two.
This really depresses me, because the fact that Paps is 530k and no one's he's not a buy. In years past, if you get him for 530, you'd be no-brainer bringing him. But just recently with all the injuries and how the Storm were playing, how the Storm were using him, I just can't jump on him yet.
Yeah, no, either can I. Look, the back line's pretty much the same. Jack Howarth is a bit of an option. Could be one to get into your side, but I don't know with Jack Howarth. I think he's one of those ones that I've touched on that I'm just going to wait and see. Personally, so I'm not going to get. I'm just going to see how he goes. He's a really talented player.
He's a bit awkwardly priced as well. I think he's like 450.
Yeah, he's like 4. Yeah,
just, I don't know.
And you just think with Toya, Purdue, those other players that are around that price point, I think I'd rather be going them.
Agreed.
Look, Munster, is it a bounce back year? I know him and Hughes are having a bit of a competition off the booze. Is Munster going to, he's had that really good rest now after the off season.
Well, he's another one, 589k. Back in the day, if you get Munster for that, you'd be cheering. So, him and Paps both very underpriced. You're just hoping that they recapture their best form.
Okay, the rest of the Storm forward pack, apart from one man, is basically the same. Look, if you're keen on Harry Grant, I think he could be a bit of a pod. I know they've got the bye next week, but look, Harry Grant, you know what Harry Grant is going to give you, and that Storm draw, or the Storm draw as a whole this season, he is going to gobble.
Yeah, and Harry Grant seemingly underperformed last year, but I think he still averaged I want to say something pretty good. So, if he can outperform that, then he's a great option again.
Yeah, no, definitely one to look at. But the man that we're going to talk about is, which I think the only concern is his minutes, is Stefano Utoikamanu. One thing I will touch on is that Nelson's still suspended.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of concern there with minutes, minutes coming in, Nelson taking some minutes. For me, if you want to hear it straight, black and white, I'm not getting Stefano to start the season. I think I need to watch him, see what those minutes are like. I think he's definitely going to be way better at the Storm than he was at the Tigers. I think he will get more minutes. I think Bellamy's going to get a lot more out of Stefano, but
I just think that middle spot for 600k, you can probably do a bit better at this point. But
you got very cheap players there. You've got Seyfarth and other options that we've touched on, which I think have got a bit more better upside there. Definitely one to watch though. With that draw, Stefano could go really well. No one else really to touch on for the rest of the Storm team there. On to the Eels. Oh, the Eels. Now, we've got a bit to cover here quickly. Obviously, if you haven't got Isaiah Yongi, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You need to delete your team and potentially recontemplate your fantasy career if you haven't got Yongi. And I think he's due for a great season.
Look, he's only 52% owned, which is just bizarro. What are the other people doing?
I don't know. But look, they got Russell and Tago on the edge, on the wings. I wouldn't be touching either of those. Will Penasini and Zach Lomax are great options in the center spot. I think Zach Lomax, I think, will definitely regress slightly from what he produced at the Dragons.
No one on the wing.
Exactly.
Which I think is a better position for him. So
100%. He is still kicking goals, so that's with the basically the absence, which I can actually provide potentially a bomb here for our listeners and watchers, is Mitch Moses has not been named, and I have reports or rumors that he is actually going to be out for over a month. So he's not going to be back till round 5, which makes Ronald Volkman. Is he an option?
I really think he is with that info, but look, nothing's set in stone here. Moses could easily be back in another week or two. But
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
He's 374K, Volkman.
I really rate Volkman. I think he's a great player, great young player.
Yeah. He's obviously had a really tough career thus far with the injuries and whatnot. So
if it's between him and Humphries, I'd actually lean Volkman, honestly.
I'm with you on that. Dylan Brown, you know what you're going to get with Dylan Brown. So yeah, that's really it. Now onto the forwards. Look, this is an absolute mess with this and the forwards. This and the bench, should I say? Just quickly touching on the hooker position. Hands getting the start, and Riley Smith. There is a lot of raps on this Riley Smith as a real talented youngster. I just got promoted into the top 30 last week, so they've really been pushing to get him into this NRL side.
Yeah. And if, with all due respect to Brendan Hands, I think his ceiling is a little capped as a player.
100%.
I think Riley Smith could be the starting 9 within a matter of weeks.
Joey Lussick at number 22 means that he's Riley Smith is now leapfrogged Lussick into that second spot, which
wasn't
could go to the top spot as well. So.
Yeah, and leapfrogging Joey Lussick isn't a hard thing to do. No disrespect to Joey, but yeah.
So on this Eels forward pack, look, the only player that there's 2 players here that I'm looking at that could be potential options. For me, maybe 3. I don't think Junior Paulo or Joe, like, I think they'll go well, but I don't think they're really going to make that much money or be like a real superstar. The biggest thing here with the Eels team, which is just putting me like really off all of them, is just the minutes. Apart from Hopgood, I just don't know what minutes with that bench is going to happen basically be given to these players.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Wars, how like it could be like a 50-50 split almost, which is just poison for fantasy.
So you got Jack Williams and Kelmer on the edge. And then Hopgood. I think Hopgood, if you're going to pick a para forward, the one who's going to get the most minutes, PPM beast, we know what Hopgood is. He's the one you get.
Yeah.
But there is some concern because you've got like Madison, Geimer on the bench that can easily play at the lock position. But if you want to lock in one forward, I think he's the one. He's definitely one of the top locks in fantasy. So definitely.
My recommendation is to just avoid
everyone bar Hopgood.
Yeah, because what's Jackie Williams is only one. I'd probably go Jackie Williams over Tuilagi.
Could he live up to his PPM Beast nickname that he was given a few seasons ago, and we really didn't see it?
No, I don't think he's going to live up to the PPM Beast nickname, but
I know Mick was keen on him.
Yeah, at 500K, you could do a lot worse. Yeah. I would get him over Tuilagi, who I think, what is he?
Well, Kelmer, the thing with Kelmer is he can miss a tackle.
Oh, he can miss a few tackles.
That's my concern. He missed 7, I think, in one game in the trials. So
yeah, and I just don't think his minutes will be there looking at that bench. But what do I know?
Yeah. Look, not Kelmer, Jack, I think Jack Williams is probably the second best option. But look, we could talk on days about, who we reckon, what minutes, etc. But
sadly, have to wait and see, Dor.
Yeah, I'd just be going Hopgood if you really want to lock in someone from the Eels. Look, I don't really think that's basically covered all the, fantasy super coach relevant news in terms of, players that are coming in. I think the best way to end this, Macca, is who do you think is your buy? Like, who is your must-have player to basically that you're going to ride and die this week?
It's Jacob Preston for sure.
Preston?
Yeah. Apart from Preston, who I've sort of mentioned before, it'd have to be...
Well, let's combine here. Let's give it. Yeah. I think we can give the listeners and watchers 3 players, right? Okay. Who we've discussed. If you want Jacob Preston, I'm happy with Jacob Preston.
Jacob Preston's definitely one.
And then I'm thinking Tyrrell May and Dylan Lucas. I think those 3 players, I think, are players that you really need to have in your side, and they're going to be huge for you this season. So, look, I wish everyone the best of luck. We'll try and go a bit better with the buys, cautions, and avoids this week. But yeah, make sure if you haven't subscribed, make sure you follow all the social media platforms. And yeah, we'll see you next week for round 2.
Indeed. Good luck, boys.
See ya.